The Johnson family had the whole lot that everybody ought to dream of. Wealth, mansions, luxury, cars. Each day changed into a testimony to their success. Their existence changed into one in all opulence. The sort that the majority ought to only fantasize about. But, no matter their fabric riches, there was something lacking in their lives, something that no amount of money may want to purchase. Whilst their daughter Sarah, become born, the family's best world turned into grew, to become the other way up. The moment she got here into the world, the whispers began. First within the sterile white walls of the sanatorium room, after which all through the mansion they called domestic, the infant's pores and skin changed into dark. The color of wealthy, deep chocolate, even as each her parents had honest skin. The distinction was placing. The medical doctor, trying to make sense of the situation, quietly explained that every so often, children can inherit tendencies from their ancestors in ways that aren't straight away apparent. But for the Johnsons, this wasn't an explanation that brought consolation, it only caused extra questions. "She can't be ours," they murmured, slightly loud sufficient for everybody else to listen. However, the guilt changed into clear of their voices. The idea that their personal flesh and blood didn't resemble them in the way they expected stirred emotions of soreness, confusion, and even shame. At that moment, they began to turn their backs on their own daughter. Within the beginning, Sarah became handled with indifference. She changed into a beautiful infant. Yes, but she wasn't what they had hoped for. Henry Johnson, the father, saved his distance, treating her more like a duty than a loved child. His wife, Catherine, changed into Chilia nevertheless, not even bothering to cover her disdain. Their love for her, if there was ever any, speedy faded into something unrecognizable. Sarah felt this each single day. The bloodless stares from her mom, the long silences in their lavish eating room, the way her father's eyes would keep away from hers. She became in no way covered inside the circle of relatives' activities, never seen as a member of the Johnson clan. But she couldn't understand why. Why did she now not suit and became she no longer proper enough? Became something incorrect together with her. Those had been questions she requested herself every day, but no answers got here. The most effective character who ever showed Sarah love and care turned into Lena, the own family's black maid. Lena changed into a female of deep religion, a type soul who had worked for the Johnsons for so long as everybody could recall. She had visible the circle of relatives go from humble beginnings to riches, and through all of it, she had remained the consistent presence that gave the house some warm temperature. She had a special bond with Sarah from the moment the female changed into born. At the same time as her parents withheld affection, Lena poured out love, speaking to the kid as if she had been her own. She wiped Sarah's tears whilst the little female felt the edge of rejection from her parents. She braided Sarah's hair, a small act that made the woman sense like she belonged someplace, even though it was most effective in Lena's fingers. Lena might whisper softly to her, "You aren't much less. You're destined for greatness." Those words supposed the whole lot to Sarah, especially while the whole lot round her appeared to tell her the opposite. Because the years surpassed, the gap among Sarah and her parents, most effective, grew wider. Henry and Catherine kept her hidden from the public, now not looking everybody to know about their daughter's skin color. They kept her within the house, away from friends, away from any form of socialization, out of worry that the world could choose them for what that they had created. The circle of relatives' reputation became too important to hazard, and so, Sarah changed into remoted. However, regardless of the harshness of her situation, Lena was usually there, providing awareness and steerage. Sarah grew up with Lena teaching her training that no school could provide. It changed into Lena, who taught her to agree within herself, to upward push above the bitterness that surrounded her, and to embody her mind as her finest asset. At the same time, as her parents might also have omitted her emotional nicely being, Lena made sure she knew the significance of "You're destined for greatness," Sarah Lena could say. By no means let anybody tell you otherwise. Sarah took these words to coronary heart. She threw herself into her studies, working late into the nighttime, now and again, until the early hours of the morning. Lena always had a cup of tea ready for her, whilst she stayed up overdue, whispering encouragement, pushing her to head further. "You can try this, lady," she would say, her eyes complete of pride. "Don't permit all people make you experience small. You've got the whole lot inside you that you need to be high." The days become months, the months into years, and with each passing day, Sarah grew extra decided. Her intelligence became undeniable. She excelled at the whole lot she did, especially within the sciences. As she entered excessive school, she turned into already turning into called one of the brightest college students in the region. Even supposing most people had no concept who she turned into, her mother and father still saved her hidden, refusing to permit her to interact with others out of doors, the residents. But Lena by no means stopped pushing her to attempt for extra, to peer the world, and to interrupt free from the slender world that were compelled upon her. Sooner or later, when it got here time for college, Sarah fought difficult to wait a prestigious university. She labored tirelessly on her applications, even though her mother and father had been no help, refusing to assist her financially or emotionally. But Sarah had Lena, and that became enough. Lena helped her along with her programs, ensuring every essay was ideal, every element was attended to, and while Sarah turned into one of the top universities in the US, Lena became there to cheer her on. Sarah thrived in university. She would become determined to show her worth, not simplest to her parents, but also to herself. She studied medicine, driven by way of the desire to make a distinction, to assist folks that had been in want, to apply her intellect to heal the sector. For the duration of her time at the university, she became a reputable pupil, a version for others who had been stimulated by using her perseverance and brilliance. She by no means allowed the coldness of her parents' rejection gradual her down. In fact, in most effective made her more potent. After commencement, Sarah commenced operating as a physician, quick establishing herself as one of the maximum respected and proficient physicians inside the city. She'd become recognized now, not best for her scientific information, but also for her compassion and dedication to her sufferers. She poured her coronary heart into her work, saving lives each day, and earning the admiration of her colleagues. But no matter all of her fulfillment, Sarah in no way forgot the person that had believed in her, while nobody else did. Lena were her guiding mild, the person that noticed her ability when no person else did. And now, as Sarah stood at the height of her profession, Lena turned into there cheering her on, still proud of the young woman she had helped raise. They remained near, their bond unbreakable, even as Sarah navigated the excessive pressures of her profession. Sooner or later, and sudden moment would forever change the path of the Johnson family. Sarah acquired a call from a sanatorium where her dad and mum were ready. They were determined. Henry had fallen unwell, and in spite of their vast wealth, they could not find a physician who may want to help him. It became a dire situation. In that second, they had no choice, however, to turn to Sarah. She walked into the medical institution room, the same medical institution she had walked into limitless instances as a physician. However, now it turned into exceptional. Now, she became the one who could decide their destiny. When Henry and Catherine noticed her stroll in, their faces dropped. The years of shame, the rejection, and the bitterness that had been part of their lives all got here speeding again. Their daughter they had hidden away. The daughter that they had treated like an outsider was now status earlier than them, as one of the maximum reputable docs within the town. But Sarah didn't gloat. She didn't revel in the instant. Alternatively, she checked out her dad and mum, their faces complete of remorse and disgrace, and without a doubt stated, "Each child merits love. I became who I'm because a person believed in me." She didn't want to say more. The truth became in her eyes. Standing quietly behind the room, tears of satisfaction streaming down her face, turned into Lena. She had continually regarded these days might come, and now she watched as Sarah, sooner or later, had the risk to show her parents who she had emerged as. They had failed to see her value, but Lena had by no means as soon as doubted it. The Johnson family, for all their wealth and strength, had learned a tough lesson that day. Love, now, not wealth, was the real measure of greatness.